Okay, hello again.
Hi.
So, as I mentioned before, this is
Mhm.
going to be recorded so that later people can see how it is working with me
Uh-huh.
and can see like the structure of the service
Mhm.
if they are just looking how this look behind
Yeah.
the scenes. So first of all, thank you for filling the pre-assignments. I hope they were clear. The
Yes, very clear.
idea, nice. The idea is that you have thought about
Yeah.
this, and now we are going to have a conversation. I am going to ask about things that you
Hmm.
already write down there. Just we can go deeper and we can check how
Okay.
that is connected to your services and to
Hmm.
the audience that you want to attract. Okay?
Hmm.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like for you to introduce, like, let's say you are in a networking event
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
need to tell who you are and who you help.
Okay. So I'm Martha. I am a psychotherapist and a coach, as well as a yoga and meditation teacher, but primarily a psychotherapist and coach. And aside from that work, what I do is I offer mental health courses and courses for personal growth and thriving to individuals. I'm currently setting up a yoga school as well, and yeah, I just love seeing people heal and grow and thrive. That's one of my passions.
Nice.
Hmm.
And who is your main audience, the
Yeah,
people that you reach out?
my audience are usually most of them are women. It's not sure why, but most of them are, and they are kind of between late 20s to mid to late 50s. Some a bit older, usually at a kind of transition point in their lives, maybe because they want to rethink their life, they want to change something, they're not quite sure why. Some of them will have been in abusive relationships and they need some healing to do. Um, Others, yeah, what basically it's often transitions, whether it's a career transition or starting afresh after a relationship. So those are my main
Mm,
kind of clients and creatives as well. So people who are in entertainment and who want to take the next step or want to, let's say, move from the stage to the screen and have insecurities, things like that. Mm-hmm.
mhm. Nice. Um, so when you saw the post about this
Mm-hmm.
service, there were like some examples of how you can use this. What is the main reason or what is the main messaging that you want to refresh or check?
Mm-hmm. Well, so I I'm doing several things at once at the moment, and that can be quite confusing. You know, when I work on different businesses, and I think that the branding can get mixed up in
Mhm.
a way. So when we talk about brand identity, etc., um, yeah, I'm worried that my businesses might get mixed up with each other, even though they're somehow related.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I don't want to present as confused, but maybe I guess I am maybe I'm a little bit because I'm doing so many different things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And for example, your psychotherapy services are
Hmm.
one-on-one or they are only courses? How does
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
look?
Yeah. My psychotherapy work is individuals as well as couples.
Okay.
I do some group sessions as well, but mainly it's individuals. And the courses, they incorporate my psychology and research and psychotherapy experience. So people who want to focus on that, they can learn in their own time. But I also have
Mhm.
a program that people can take to start kind of their recovery journey from narcissistic relationships. So that's the psychotherapy part, I guess.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so for the services where you are actually helping them in sessions and the courses, the
Mhm.
audience is the same, or do you have different audiences?
They're all the same, really.
Okay,
That's
that's
there's no,
good.
yeah, makes it easier. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and so that's one piece of your business.
Mhm.
What are the other pieces?
So the other pieces are so the psychotherapy, and there are courses, but actually there is a school that I have where people can take courses in positive psychology. So things about character strengths, about self-discovery, also transaction analysis. So anything, also courses in being more confident in their business.
Okay.
And how to protect themselves, for example, by how to have safe conversations with people who might be competitors, etc. So those kind of things. It's, I guess, emotional and social intelligence that I'm trying to teach there as well.
Okay, that's good. And then you have the yoga courses, or how do
That's
you
what I'm
call
setting
that?
up. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
yoga school that I'm still setting up. I'm just writing the course right now because it will take a while for that. So that's a bit further aside because it needs to be accredited by the Yoga Alliance still, and
Okay.
that's a long process. So the two things that are kind of running is my psychotherapy and coaching practice, and then the school that teaches kind of emotional and social intelligence and well-being.
Okay. And usually the people that are your clients in the services, like the services that you provide, are later converting into students, or they don't have to, or what is usually the situation?
They don't have to, but some see that there is a course that they can take. So they, in my emails, my signature, they see the link to my to my school as well. And so they get interested and they sign up, or they refer a friend. Or if it's something relevant to my work with them, I say, if you want to learn something outside of our sessions, you can do this as well. So some of my clients actually will book the courses as well.
Are you actively inviting them to do so, or just like more subtle?
If it's appropriate, if it is something that they need in their journey, then I will.
Okay.
The otherwise, so my existing clients, right? So they see it in my email signature. When I do live events outside of my practice, so I have a book club, and sometimes I do like live events on the Insight Timer app. We can't advertise on that app.
Okay.
But some people who are attending those events, they have also done my courses because there is a link tree link. Okay. And sometimes they will mention it in the comments, which I really appreciate. Because we're not allowed to like say, hey, leave here, go there. But some of them will share.
Okay, nice. So are you allowed to tell what is your website, or any free resource, or are you not allowed to any of that?
So on Insight Timer, the meditation app, you have like a teacher profile, and so people can click on it, and there is a link tree. And then people can visit my website and everything else. But we're discouraged from saying, and hey, join me then and then.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Okay. So what is the main offering that you want to communicate in this messaging that we are going to check?
Yeah. So something that already, whilst talking with you, kind of that I have actually just mentioned now, but that I'm not mentioning in kind of even the course website, that it is mainly actually focused on, I guess, nurturing emotional and social intelligence. So I think this, talking to you, so it's working. It's already working. I think I need to mention that because this is what the school does. Okay. So it's emotional and social intelligence, and personal and professional growth that comes from it, right? Mhm.
Okay, so what will be your what would you prefer to be the focus? Like
Mhm.
a messaging that works for you as to position yourself as a psychotherapist,
Mhm.
or the school?
The school.
Okay, you are
The
more
Yeah.
interested in highlighting the benefits of the school, no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's think about you as the founder of the school.
Mhm.
So we are going to check your personal brand story. That's the same,
Okay.
but it could be a bit different
Mhm.
just for the, yeah, because of the limitation of the time, of course.
Mm-mm.
So it's going to be you as a founder of this school with these values and
Yeah.
this goal in mind.
Mhm.
um it's good that the audience is similar, so what we
Yeah.
work here will work for both of that, but just to have the in mind
Mhm.
specifically what we want to highlight. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about the audience.
Yeah.
So because you mentioned several things, so
Mhm.
let's focus in the courses that you have and you want
Mhm.
to highlight. What should be the people that could be interested in this? They are looking for a solution. Why they are looking for a
Mhm.
solution? What
Mhm.
is happening in their lives?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, so similar to my therapy clients, what they're looking for is really answers to their stuckness. So a lot of them are stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It could be generally in life, they don't know what their next steps could be. Some are going through a conflict with a
Okay.
partner or with a business partner sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's people who are going through transitions.
Mm-hmm.
So work change, relationship change, pivoting in their business. Um, yeah, and some need healing as well. Kind of,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I could understand that the courses that you have there could help several people in several ways.
Hmm.
But let's say we need to just try to define a group of people.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not about how old they are or things
Hmm.
like that. It's about what situation they are in, what
Hmm.
makes them awake at night, what is
Mm-mm.
their worries.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you can't try to attract more kind of
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
It's just to focus on have in mind a specific group
Yeah.
of people, so we can go a bit deeper
Hmm.
into
Hmm.
their needs and the kind of language that they are going to
Yeah. Yeah.
use. And for choosing that, I would say, which is the main amount of people that arrive in that situation
Hmm.
looking for
Hmm.
the solution, also who are the people in your experience that get better results with
Yeah.
the resources that you provide. So what is easier for you to achieve for them?
Hmm.
So if I ask you, you just need to choose a group of people with
Hmm.
some kind of problems, what would you say?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay,
So,
yeah, if we have several group of people that
okay.
your school can help,
Hmm.
let's say I ask you, okay, with of all these groups, which
Yeah.
one would you choose as the
Okay.
main one or the bigger amount of people there and
Hmm.
that?
Okay.
Mhm.
So I would choose a group of people who are ready for change,
Okay,
who have a love of learning, who have a good amount of curiosity,
okay,
and who already have a certain degree of self-motivation. So they are ready to get started and to learn. So maybe they have to have a certain level of fed upness with their current status where they are.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, self-motivated and people who are not afraid of commitment.
Okay,
Um, and also are keen to be part of something. So
okay,
part of a community, because that's what the school also provides.
yes.
Um, yeah, open to learning that. Mhm.
Have they tried another solutions?
Some will have tried. I think a lot of them try things like self-help books and other things. And they might have an understanding, a bit of a deeper understanding of what's happening, but they're still stuck because what they need actually is somebody who helps them along in their direction. And somebody who attunes to them and realizes exactly kind of what their actual needs are.
Mm-hmm. In your courses, you are providing like their own path, and do you give them some kind of Q&As or support? How is the structure of the courses?
Yes. So I'm going to talk about the character strengths course because the recovery from narcissism is a bit different. It's like a program. But the character strengths course is it is based on the VIA character strengths. It's part of positive psychology. And so people take the survey first, and then they see a list of their character strengths in a specific order. And they find out what their signature strengths are, their phasic, lesser, and lost strengths. And then in the course, what they do is they learn what that means, how they can use their strengths in specific situations, in communication, how they can increase their sense of self-worth and self-esteem and confidence, how they might potentially overuse certain strengths or underuse.
Okay.
They are learning certain methodologies in terms of conflict resolution, self-care. So there's a lot of ways of working with character strengths. And in the course, there are reflective exercises as well. So I provide vignettes, so real life examples. So it becomes more kind of tangible for people. So they see, okay, that's what's meant by that. And sometimes I do like live sessions with people where they join and I ask answer any questions that they might have, things I need to clarify. And in the end, they can create their own kind of tailored to them action plan on what strengths they want to improve. And it's very creative and playful as well.
Nice. So I know that you mentioned before that sometimes you work with creatives. Which are the main, they are the students of this course are creatives, or they are more into the relationships changes that you mentioned before? Are like both of them combined?
It's both, but there are less creatives there. I mean, well, so most of the people are very creative, but the majority are not people who work in entertainment or the arts.
Okay.
I have authors and photographers and actors in the course. But it's just, people like you and I want to improve things in their life. And we're all creative, but people who have a passion for learning, for showing creativity. Yeah.
And if I ask you what is the main takeaway or the outcome that they get from this course, what will be?
The main outcome is, I think, empowerment, hopefully, because they learn that they have more strengths than they thought. And what I see a lot is that people undermine themselves, they underestimate what they're capable of. And then they realize with the help of this course, and actually, because I also provide a lot of like research in there, so it's evidence, they realize that they have those strengths. So empowered in a way, and more confidence. Yeah.
Okay. So as if I got it right, most of them feel stuckness and before they took the course.
Yeah.
how the course helped them to solve that
Yeah.
situation.
I think first of all, they get to know themselves a bit better
Okay.
because they look at how they communicate with themselves, like the beliefs they hold about themselves that are not really true. And then as they experiment with their character strengths, in practice, they become more confident. So there's a bit of psychoeducation in there, experimentation. So they see, oh, hang on, I just did that. Yeah, that's the main way of how they learned. Yeah, how they learned, how they get there.
And so in general, how many people would you say have gone through that process through this course already?
Yeah, it's pretty new.
Okay.
So it's right now it's 25 people.
Okay.
So it's literally just just new, and yeah, and they loved it.
Nice.
With clients, well, I use that. So therapy clients is different because I work with my therapy clients on them directly. But if it's just doing the course, it's around 25 people. Yeah.
Okay. And do you see what difference do you see between when finalize the process of the therapy and finalize the process of the courses? What are like the main difference that you can see in both?
In both, I see people's, again, like their confidence and their self-esteem. So, I have clients who have, just yesterday, I talked to a client who had suffered with anxiety, and they made a huge life-changing decision that was unthinkable for them, and it turned out for the better. So we celebrated yesterday. It's like there's something is off their shoulders, they feel lighter, and so much more positive, hopeful, feel more hopeful about the future, and they can savor moments as well. So I teach them savoring as well, like being in the here and now and just kind of taking everything in and appreciating beauty and excellence around them. So I think those are the biggest changes that I see. A lightness, it's really beautiful to see.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
If you, let's say there are a potential client that arrives to you, what question do you ask, or how do you decide to tell them for you is better the therapy, for you can do on yourself the course? How do you decide that?
Yeah. So if somebody approaches me for therapy because I don't know anything about courses, then I take them on for therapy because that's what they are looking for. But I also say that I work with character strengths, and if they want to learn a bit more about that, I also have this course that they can do alongside our work, because that it complements our therapy work actually. Because what they will be learning in the course, we can just deepen in psychotherapy rather than me having to go through it every session. They can just go through the course alongside the therapy, so it complements it. Yeah.
Nice. So let's say it's someone that doesn't know that you are a therapist, that you are having courses or anything like that. We just met. I am just telling you I have this situation. Yeah, I feel stuck, wherever. And then how do you keep asking me and honestly recommending me something specific? How would you do that?
I would ask you what you have tried so far and what has worked for you in the past and what hasn't. And then I would explain what options there are and kind of like what the different benefits are. So I would ask, have you had therapy before, or have you had coaching before, or did you take a course? Like, have you tried to deal with this issue? And then I asked them what would be their ideal kind of, what's their need exactly? What would they, because I want to tailor, I want to know that people get exactly what they need. So I don't want to just sell something to them just for the sake of selling. I want to work with integrity. It's really important to me. And if they say, yeah, I'm already in therapy, or I don't need that, I just want to improve something here and then, I'm like, you know what, I've got this course. And if you want to do that, and there's a nice community that's forming slowly, and because in the course you can also book an individual session with me if you want.
Okay.
There's like a booking link in the course itself. You can do that, but how about you just check out the course and see if that does that for you already. And if it's not enough, then we can have another conversation. So I'm trying not to be pushy or salesy or anything. And I think that's what people really appreciate. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Okay. So now let's go a bit about your story and how to connect both of the things. So first of all, just let me know, how did you get involved into psychotherapy?
Yeah. I was always a geek. So I always read books. And I would I don't know, would go through the school library and just pick random books and read them. And I guess I picked up a psychology book and I found it fascinating. All right, okay, so there are all these different things. And I was always really curious. And friends at school said that I'm really good at motivating them and supporting them. So it's one of my strengths. And the more I read about it, the more fascinated I have become with this. And I don't know, I'm the kind of person my friends go to and say, hey, can you help me gain perspective on this or that? And so it just came naturally to me, and I really enjoyed seeing other people can benefit from that. And it's kind of addictive when you see people kind of getting some value out of just you listening, but they kind of feeling safe around you. It's beautiful experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that feeling of feeling safe is everything. So yeah, absolutely. And because you mentioned that you work with a lot of creatives, how has been that? What that you are related to creatives or working with them?
So I always loved music, and I always used to draw and paint, and so that was something that was kind of a passion of mine. But like later on professionally, I had a classical musician from the local orchestra come to me for an issue around their work and kind of their relationship with their instrument. And they wanted kind of to progress, like within the orchestra. And so we kind of found that you didn't really need psychotherapy. We would have been coaching, and back then I wasn't trained as a coach. I know everyone can call themselves a coach, but I just, I was like, listen, I'm not trained as one. He said, well, you give it a try anyway. It's okay. So I quickly signed up to with the ICF to that training. But it worked. And he advanced in the orchestra as well, which is like really, really hard to do. I mean, and then he started sending me his friends.
Okay.
And I also believe that the right clients find you, It's like they can sense something, or I don't know, like they just started to arrive, even people who didn't know each other. So suddenly I had a musician come and say, I just spoken to my friend and they worked with you. And it's like, okay.
Wow.
So it was really interesting. And yeah, I don't know, they just kept arriving then. It's like something was set in motion. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. How did you start it with your courses? Why did you incorporate a course into your services?
So first of all, it started first by me wanting to train coaches. So
Okay.
create a training program, like an ICF, I created a training program to kind of help to bring more and more like high quality coaching into the world. And it was kind of during the pandemic, where people were working more online, and I had a few clients who had been coached by individuals who had no proper training or anything, and who actually had some really unpleasant experiences where it's financially exploitative, situations, or traumatizing even. And I thought, whoa, and I felt really passionate about it. And I thought, okay, I want to make sure that there are more people there who work ethically and with integrity, who are trauma informed, who provide ethics training. I want to kind of like put something good out there. And it's a long process. I'm still working on that process as well, but it's so part of the courses, like the character strengths course, that was meant to actually train other coaches in using that approach in their practice. However, as I was working on it, I realized, hang on, I can teach that to everyone really. It doesn't have to be coaches. And then I can just take this course that I offer to individuals. Later on, I can rewrite it into a like a CPD course, or for a part of the curriculum for their ACC, etc. For coaches, and also because the ICF markers have changed. I would have had to rewrite it anyway, because the way they grade and everything has changed. So it didn't make sense whilst there's a transition to create a new course that and so it became something different, kind of organically. Where then it became, rather than just training for coaches, it became actually training for individuals.
Nice. And how did you start selling the course? Who do you tell them about your course? How did you start that process?
Very slowly. Don't really do any advertising, so that's what I need to work on as well. But so mainly, existing clients, to be honest, existing therapy clients, or their friends, people who have seen me on Inside Timer, and they have seen my my profile. That's how I got like people to sign up.
Nice. How often do you go live in
Inside Timer?
Yeah.
So when I do a book club, I do that every Saturday at 9 p.m. UK time. And then I have a few weeks break because I want to have some Saturdays to myself. But weekly on a Saturday, and then I have a few weeks break if I'm busy a bit longer. And in between, if I'm writing a new course and I feel inspired and I want to kind of check out the feedback from people, it's kind of like almost like marketing research, because I will do like a little live workshop, live talk about a topic. And so I realized that anything to do with like healing from narcissistic or abusive relationships really pulls people in. So there is a real need for that. So when I talk about these kind of things in personal growth, that's when the numbers go really high. Yeah.
So would you say the same type of audience will be interested in the characters and the other?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, not everyone has experienced abusive relationships. But what really all those people have in common is that they want to grow. They want to change something in their life, improve something. They love to learn. So that's kind of what is the common thing, a common interest they have.
And the course about abuse, is for people that they already have gone in this process or before they start? For which stage would you say is the best?
What process you mean?
I mean the recovering process.
Okay, yeah. So it's people who are going through it
Okay.
or who have gone through it. They might be at the very beginning of it. So I have people who go through this. It's like a 10-week program who might still be with their partner and are finding ways to kind of leave or have decided to leave, but it's maybe difficult because they have kids and they want to make sure everything is in place. It's not just abusive relationships in terms of romantic relationships.
Okay.
So it's also people who have grown up with abusive parents. So, have maybe a narcissistic mother, let's say, or father. And there are different difficult family dynamics. So they are still in that environment and they want to learn how to cope with it and whether to completely cut off contact or so how to navigate the complexity of it.
So this program of 10 weeks is helping them go through the decisions and the action, designing an action plan for them?
Yeah, so they are learning about what narcissism actually is, because it's a word that's been thrown around a lot recently. Like everyone who has the traits is necessarily narcissistic, so they learn actually what it really is. They learn to spot behaviors of people who have these traits. They learn how to spot manipulation quicker. So that helps them with their resilience. And then how to protect themselves. So how not to get into psychological games, how to kind of assess their social circle, whether there are people actually that are draining their energy, that are unhealthy for their mental health, or and what to do. Then they also learn kind of more about self-esteem and what self-worth is. They also learn about character strengths a little bit from what's in the other course. They learn practical strategies. They learn about holistic healing. So they create like a personal growth plan, if you will, or self-care plan during the program. So they see what works for them, what doesn't. It helps them to think about, because it's all holistic. So, their sleep, their nutrition, the exercise they do, and also communication skills. So I teach them communication skills, how to set boundaries. So quite a lot.
Okay.
So they leave with a full bag of tools, basically.
Nice. What would you say is the audience that is easier to attract or to identify?
Okay.
For the character course or for the abuse course?
I think for the recovery from narcissistic abuse course, it's easier. I think because there are more pain points for people.
Okay.
Like character strengths, it's like, yeah, I don't need to learn it, but it's interesting, I could. But for, when people are in pain and they want to get out of this pain, there is more urgency for them. Because it's unbearable being around, abusive people, and whether that's a boss or a partner or family or whatever. So I think there's more interest in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you got involved in this specific area?
A lot of my therapy clients, had these experiences. I think the majority of the clients that come to me have grown up with abusive parents a lot of the time. Or they have gone through toxic relationships. And I mean, not all of them, but a lot of them. Like when you talk to them a bit further, you realize that, the way they perceive themselves, there's something not quite healthy about it. And then you dig further. Why? And so I find it fascinating. I have worked with narcissistic people as well as clients, so not just people who have been a target of them. And yeah, so I don't know. And then usually my clients come by recommendation. So it kind of, somebody talks about the issue and then, oh, I have the same issue. Oh, I know someone who works with this. Oh, and so then, people came specifically for that. And then I became kind of known for working with that issue. It wasn't an intention when I set out to, but it kind of, just like with the creatives, it happened. Yeah.
And you mentioned before that your friends would come to you and ask you for your perspective and to listen to them, and that. Do you have like an early memory of that situation where a friend of yours was asking you for help in that way?
Yeah, let me think about it. I think, yes, I have had a friend who used to live in the same house as me, so in the flat above. And you could hear the mother. You could hear the mother. I mean, she was a kid, so she couldn't like move out or anything, but you could hear the mother shouting and screaming and being abusive, which is really sad. And I remember talking to her and her blaming herself for, I don't know, I'm not good enough. Like, I know there's something wrong with me. And I remember her kind of telling her like, but how your mother is, that doesn't say anything about you, because I experience you differently. I don't experience you the way your mother treats, like, and she kind of slowly realized that her mother had a problem. And so, I mean, we moved then, so I don't know kind of like what happened, but she just said like, yeah, you know what? Actually, yeah. Because I said, it's not right for parents to treat their children like this, because we hear it in our flat. But I don't know what happened. Whether I think she might have moved out as soon as she could. I think actually, probably like 15, 16, somewhere else, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah. It's that separateness, that separating out from, it's like, okay, someone else's behavior, whether they're abusive, doesn't say anything about me, but it says a lot about them. And I remember just saying it, just came out of me like intuitively. Yeah.
I guess you have had a similar situation actually with your clients telling the same thing.
Yeah. So when what's interesting when I work with couples, sometimes when you get an eye for it as a therapist, you're like, oh yeah, see what the dynamic is. And in the therapy room, things come alive between couples. And you will hear things like, well, if you didn't make me so angry, or if you just did what I want you to do, I wouldn't get aggressive. And so I need to kind of teach them, okay, so maybe you get triggered, so there's something in your history that triggers you, but your self-regulation is your job. And some people who are abusive, they don't like hearing that. But their partner, who is the target of it, they hear that and they realize, oh my goodness, okay. Yeah. And those relationships, if somebody is obviously narcissistic and abusive, they do not last. And then what happens is usually that end up working just with one of them, because they decide, you know what, because the other partner will not engage in the couples therapy anymore anyway.
So somehow, could you say those feelings that you had then realized can be similar in a way from your kid friend and your client that
Yeah.
moment, or this is not me, this is
Yeah.
the other person behavior somehow.
So it's like, okay, like I can't control what somebody does. I can ask them to stop, I can ask them to
Mm,
change, but I can't make other people do anything. But I have a choice. I mean, for a kid, it's different. But
yeah,
you
of
know, I
course.
mean, when I was a kid, that was like the 80s. So it's not like now. Wasn't that
Yeah,
much support, you know.
yeah,
But it's like, okay, but I have a choice what I do. I can try to get
yeah,
out of here as soon as I can, or maybe talk to a
yeah,
social worker at school or whatever.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I feel that just having the thought of this not just me not being enough, that's powerful enough to
Mm,
just
mm,
being able to change your point of view
yeah,
and looking at things in a different with a different angle. So
yeah, yeah.
that's a pivotal moment, I guess, for someone that is in that situation.
Mm,
Yeah. So I think that's connected to one of your main values you mentioned in the pre-assignments
mhm.
about integrity.
Yeah, yeah,
Tell me a bit about that.
yeah. So I think it's showing up authentically,
Mm-hmm.
being yourself and not trying to kind of pretend to be someone. And so when I trained to become a therapist, the requirement in the way I trained, and I specifically chose that particular path, is that we had to have our own therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know how people become therapists without having had their own therapy. It's so valuable. And so it was interesting to see how other therapists work, especially in my training. And I came across some absolutely wonderful, like, people who you just feel that sense of integrity and care and being genuine. But have also come across just people I thought, wow, why are you a therapist? And I guess the stories that people have told me about previous experiences. So some
Mm-hmm.
come to work with me who had amazing experiences. Yesterday, I was talking to a lady who was doing one of my courses, and she has a therapist, but she just wanted to have a chat to kind of like a bit of a kind of some ideas, and she has this wonderful therapist, and you can see it makes such a change. Um, and I think, yeah, what I said earlier about providing a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, I don't know whether I'm answering your question right, but it yeah, it's just showing up as yourself, like not being the kind of person that feels like they have to play a role. Like sometimes you would come into a therapist room and they are very gimmicky. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a therapy center that I handed over to a colleague in 2019, just before the pandemic, because I just didn't want to manage other therapists anymore. And for a few years, I had plans to give that business up and not do it anymore. But it got very like popular, and um, and it grew so fast. This business, like it had this really good reputation and everything. Um, and because I made integrity like the number one thing, um, now sadly it's gone down, like with the other person, but yeah, gimmicky. So I had a therapist once tell me not to give their clients in the waiting room a glass of water or tea to drink, or to ask them whether they want something to drink whilst they're waiting. Um, like
Wow.
just silly things like that, and I'm like, but it's hot outside, and this is my business. They might be your clients. This is my business. And part
Mm.
of it is being kind to people, making them feel safe. They come into an
Yeah.
environment that they might never have been there in before. They might be nervous.
Mm.
Um, you want them to kind of settle in and make themselves familiar with the space. no, I don't want them to do that. I want them to be on edge, especially if I work on anxiety. I don't want them to hide behind a glass of water. And this is like really antiquated, kind of gimmicky stuff for some therapists work where, actually this was my experience, oh my goodness, with somebody who was a Gestalt therapist, and I was late for the session because I've never been to that part of the city before, and I got lost or stuck in traffic. I can't remember now. And I arrived, and this lady was saying, you don't want to be here, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten lost. It's a subconscious decision, subconscious reaction from you in avoiding this therapy because you're late. You know, like
Okay.
you know, like the BS basically.
Okay, so that was like the welcoming to the session.
Yeah, I was like, you know, sometimes there's nothing behind something, nothing. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes you're just stuck in traffic,
Just happen.
or you just, you know, just take the wrong turning and you're late. Like, you know, and I was like, I don't want to work with this lady, you know, and I was like, but actually, it's like self-fulfilling prophecy. You're right. After talking to you, I don't want to actually really don't want to be here, but I want to do the therapy because I'm trained to be a therapist.
So arriving late was for the lesson of I don't want to work with you. Maybe. Okay. So you also mentioned about this providing a safe space and that, where there are some moments in your life where you have been in that situation where it's like, I lack of this. I looking forward to having this safe space in this moment to feel myself and authentic.
Yeah. It was when I was working in research, and apart from one, all my research jobs were amazing. So I was working at the hospital, but I had this terrible bully boss, this team leader lady, and she did create a safe environment for the team, and there was a lot of gossiping and stuff, and also the way they worked, it was, you know, like basically I had enough of working for other people. And I really, you know, I was working before for a psychiatrist, was absolutely amazing. So, but the funding for my role, you know, expired. We put in a request for more funding, and the NHS wouldn't approve it, sadly. So I came from a really good, safe, nurturing environment into this kind of also NHS, but very corporate, bullyish. And I decided I don't want to work for people who potentially, you know, well, who don't have really good, I guess, a good, what do you call it? Good culture in business, etc. And so I was really craving to have a safe space, not just for therapy clients, because at the time I was just finishing my therapy training as well whilst working in research, but also a safe space for myself. You know, where I decide what's happening in the day-to-day, where I don't have someone who is like a loose cannon around me and drains my energy, and where people gossip about each other and all of that. I was sick of working in office politics. And I remember the thought of working for someone else, you know, unless they were like, you know, we share values, which you don't know until you try, right? But I wasn't even keen on trying anymore. So yeah, it was good when I left there. They were surprised. They thought, you know, I would stay, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna.
What did you do after that?
After I left?
Yeah.
So I there were 3 posts with the same title, and then they took the funding out for one. So I would have had to reapply for the same job again.
Okay.
For another year. It was like always like a temporary, and I decided not to do that. And so I lived in Wales at the time, in North Wales in the UK, And I decided, no, I kind of need city life again. So I left and I moved to a city, and I was just renting rooms to work as a therapist in like other people's therapy centers. And that didn't really, you can't earn much with the way a lot of centers are run. And my dream was always to have my own. So I was just daydreaming. This is how I get my ideas, just daydreaming. And it was 8 a.m. I was having my morning coffee, and I was just going through like this property website for looking for offices, just curious. Yeah, what does like an office place, charge for rent? And then there was one available, like a small, tiny place. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I cycled over to the estate agent for when the doors opened. So I was out there, and I said, please, I need to see the space. And because I was also working with the job center, because obviously I wasn't earning enough. So I got like some extra support. And they said, we have a scheme right now where we can offer you a free like a business advisor for people who want to go self-employed. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I set everything up with them. I had like a special arrangement with the estate agent. I borrowed £200 from a colleague and bought like, back then the IKEA had like this £100 two-seater sofa, which they don't have anymore, but I put those two seats in. Like a £5 table. I got some home furniture from home and I put it in the waiting room. And got like an A sign and 2 posters. And I said, hey, round the corner, there's a therapy center. And within less of a year, we had to move into bigger premises.
Oh.
And that was just so beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, this is super cool. Yeah. Okay. And so at the beginning, you were just yourself there, and then how that growth process went for the center?
So the like, because I didn't know would I have any clients there. I mean, some I already had from when I rented a room, right? So they would just move with me to the new location. So dog in the background. So they would move with me to the new location. But I also had a friend who had trained with me, and she said she would also rent some time slots. So part of so actually I had two friends and colleagues of mine who said they would work in my center. So I rented basically it was just one waiting room, one therapy room. That was it. So we had to go like, swapping. And yes, so that would cover part of the rent at the time. And then I don't know, it was in this really popular part of the city where there was no therapy center because it's a very expensive part of the city. So nobody really dared. And I emailed doctors, like GP practices, and I said, hey, we just started. If they can't refer, but they can say, if you want private therapy, there's a place. And so doctor practices started sending people or recommending us to them. I contacted businesses and I said, hey, we're here. And then there was an A sign on the road as well. So there was a lot of foot traffic because it was a busy area. So everybody would see that as well. Nice. And then it just grew. And then more therapists wanted to work there, and yeah.
Nice. So how you arrive to that point where you say, enough with this, I am not interested in running this center anymore?
Yeah. So I'm good at starting something up, the ideas. So, I have a vision, like, okay, this is how I want it to be. This is kind of like the vision for the business. This is kind of how I want it to look like, blah, blah. So I'm good at that. But when it comes to the maintenance stuff, the admin things, I don't enjoy them. I have to do them as a therapist, of course, as well. but even things like, dealing with inquiries and stuff, I didn't really enjoy. But most of all, I didn't like having to manage fellow therapists. I think with a school, it will be different because the therapists, they were self-employed, so they would rent the rooms, but I would still vet them and everything. And some I would not let work at the center because I didn't see them, like they were good for the business. Whilst the school would be a bit different because I would either employ people, and then eventually I want to employ somebody to manage. I don't like the managing. Apparently I'm very good at motivating people. And so, the therapists that I felt really kind of like, let's say some of them were just starting in private practice and they were really kind of shy or scared or whatever, and they became super confident. So I'm good at that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm at a different stage in my life now as well. I want to just sit back now and see things happen.
Nice. Yeah, actually I was asking just to see how that happened. I was not thinking about the managing of the school, but it's nice how you connected those, and it's like, okay, this happened, but now it's not going to be like that. And it's good because you know how to prevent things that you are not interested in managing, so whenever you are able to, you will arrive to someone to take care of those. So that's nice because it's just, yourself, so you are going to take care of that.
And I didn't want to go to an office anymore, so I wanted to work remotely.
Okay, nice.
I didn't want to have to take care of premises. Right. And because sometimes you sit in an office and then a client cancels and you have 1 hour to waste and all of that. I didn't enjoy that anymore. And the whole responsibility for a building and so I wanted to do something that's online where I can be flexible and have more freedom.
Nice. Okay. Tell me a bit about your Italian boss, because you mentioned that one of the things that is absolutely connected to the rest of the conversation, how she was not fake. So tell me a bit about him.
Yeah, he was funny. He could also be quite the choleric person, which I'm not, but he was. Yeah, some places you arrive and they're like, oh, hello, yes, please come in. And that wasn't him. It was, hey, come in. What kind of table do you want? Like, oh, are you on a date or what? Like, I mean, obviously I'm not like this with people, but he was personable. He was really personable. He used humor a lot, appropriately as well, not inappropriately. And he made people at ease. And I really like that, I don't like rigid clinical spaces. And so I really appreciated the way, I mean, it's different, a restaurant and a therapy practice, right? But still, the feedback that I get also when I do my lives is, oh gosh, it's not like I'm sitting in a lecture theater. It's, there's so much laughter. And I had sometimes clients, they sent you thank you messages when they finish the therapy, and I would never thought that it's possible to have laughter in sessions as well. And it's, I'm so grateful for that. And I think part of it, I probably adopted some of that. I mean, I was always a silly goose, but just being authentic, not again, not trying to be someone else because you should, or
Yeah, there are some moments in your life where you have felt in that situation where I need to pretend to be someone else. I am not feeling comfortable with this.
Yeah. So this research job, so it was a research network, and there was a conference. And I like to make genuine connections, because if you make genuine connections, and you see, okay, we gel together, you know you can work better with this person, right? But our boss said, okay, dress like this, and then this is how you go around to everyone. You introduce, you tell, like it was like doing a sales pitch to people.
Okay.
And I felt so uncomfortable in it. And afterwards, my boss was like, you didn't talk to enough people. You stood with so and so, so and so, and so and so around, and I didn't see you talk to this person. And she was like, you know, yeah, and also, oh gosh, I was working when I was studying in Germany in a clothing store. And I'm just too honest, I guess, in some ways. So I was helping this lady to find an outfit that she felt really comfortable in, and oh my God, this manager came to me, and in front of the customer, she was clapping in my face and saying, "Upsale, upsale, upsale," and I was like, "Oh my
Wow.
God!" I just, I just looked at the customer, and she looked at me, and she was like, "I think something's wrong with your boss." And I was like,
Likewise.
"Wow." Because I thought, like, I don't know, I just couldn't bear the thought of, just, okay, give me all your money and buy all these things. I just wanted people to like feel they got something good, and they were respected, and they would come back.
Yeah.
You also think longer term, right? And I got that's the first and only job I got fired from. But
Wow.
but I just could not like do hard sell on people, or yeah, nah. I wouldn't like someone else to be like this with me either. So somebody tries to sell me something and desperate to sell something. It's even if I wanted this thing before, I don't want it anymore, It's like, nah, not interested anymore. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so tell me a bit. I asked you for your biggest pivotal moment, and
Yeah.
you mentioned moving to UK. So
Mm-hmm.
please tell me a bit about that time.
Yes. So I was living in Germany, and I was in journalism, and I got a job in New York, like a temporary kind of like an internship, more like a job, with a prospect of potentially them getting employment for me over there. So I was like, yes, wonderful. But 9/11 happened at the time. And so everything got delayed because the office was nearby, and they couldn't use the office because of asbestos and etc. So my plan to kind of move and change was suddenly gone, and we didn't know for how long. And I was so bored of Germany. And then totally random job came up in the UK, like totally not related. But I thought, okay, I was so keen on experiencing another country, you see. And so I moved to the UK, and I loved it. And of course, because I loved British music and stuff, there was a familiarity already. And yeah, and also because my father is Polish, my mother is German. So my maiden name is Polish. So when I was in Germany, I got discriminated.
Okay.
Even though I grew up as German with my mother, always had the passport, everything, but the surname wasn't. And so I got discriminated in Germany. And when we would go to Poland, I don't speak Polish very well. I would be discriminated against because German. So, and then finally, I was in a place where I was a true foreigner, and there was something really freeing about that, as strange as it might sound. So yeah, now I am truly that. And then just on my own, experiencing new country and settling in and studying was really good.
So did you study therapy and all that already when you were in UK? No.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I studied something completely different in Germany. And then when I was in the UK, I decided, you know what, I could start psychology here. So then I studied here in the UK.
So how was that point in your life where you was just, I can study psychology here?
Yeah.
How was that?
That was good. I mean, it's a different system. I preferred that I was working full-time while studying full-time, which was heavy. But I don't know, it was just, I don't know, I just enjoyed what I was reading. And so because I studied something, although I was always interested in psychology, I went into a journalist route, but it was like a homecoming because I ended up finally doing what I was always interested in. So yeah.
Okay. So, but before deciding to join the psychology, how studying psychology was a thought? So you were living in UK and having a job, or what was the situation where you was like, maybe it's time to do this?
Yeah.
Or why at this point?
Because I wanted to study psychology already in Germany, but you have to wait, like unless you have like the mega top grades in your A levels, like your and so I thought, journalism is actually quite interesting, but psychology was always my first decision. And then when I moved to the UK, I thought, okay, I can't just work random jobs that I, just to be here. Journalism is too difficult to do in the UK as it's not my native language, and so I thought, okay, let's see if psychology works here, and that's how it started. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Let me check. Yeah, so please tell me a bit about what is different in your way of working from other therapists or other course creators in this field.
So as a therapist or as a course creator?
Yeah, I would say tell me first about therapists and then maybe as a course creator.
Okay. So therapist, I think there are a lot of people who work like me. But I don't stick to one thing. So I don't say, okay, this is the way I work and only this. So I try not to put people in a box.
Okay.
So it's like a co-created process. I try to, in the beginning, we work on the therapeutic alliance in a way that create that relationship, right, with the client. And so try to figure out what works for them. What do they like? What might they not like? And then we create a path together. For some things, there is a space for saying, okay, there are certain steps, right? For certain kind of symptoms, whatever. So that's fine. But if it's like a longer term process, I see, okay, that would be most helpful for this and that. So I bring in like different kind of modalities and approaches in to kind of tailor it to that individual. And also, I don't think that people have to be 10 years in therapy. Some do, some just happen to be, and this is what they need, and that's fine. But I think that sometimes the last few steps people can do themselves, and actually that's more empowering. So what I do is as clients start to feel better, I might suggest, how do you feel about spacing out the sessions? Just to see, we can go back to weekly, but maybe you want to go bi-weekly, or let's so I always kind of check in. How are we doing? How are you experiencing our work together? How is this for you? And then one client said, it's like leaving the nest. But But it's quite interesting. And then sometimes they say, I have a little mini you sitting on my shoulder.
Oh yeah, I love that. You mentioned the
Yes,
little
it was so
mirror.
sweet. But and a couple of them said that. It's like, oh, I had to go through this really tough situation. And then
Oops.
all of this, is it my connection? Is my
No.
connection is unstable.
Okay,
Am I
I
back?
can hear
Okay.
you now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, my internet connection is a bit bad. What was the question again?
Yeah, we were speaking about the little Martha.
Oh
And
yeah.
the question was about what makes your approach different to other
Mhm.
therapies.
There's
Yeah,
some people who
what
work the same.
Mhm.
But I think I'm more, I don't put people in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How that So this expression about putting people in a box, there are
Mhm.
some situations in your life where you have felt like that, like people are trying
Yeah.
to put you in a box and you are not fitting in a box. You are
Yeah.
more than that.
That's a good question. When people generally tell you you are this person or that person, I don't like that, and I don't like to say that to clients.
Mm.
I think when I did my coach training, at first I was quite defensive
Yeah.
because it's not a regulated profession, and there are, people have this kind of idea of, oh, it's just someone setting up without any kind of experience or nothing
Mhm.
and telling people what to do.
Mhm.
And so when I was insecure, because people thought, oh, it's nothing proper, like, like they had this idea that I was quite defensive because they put me in a box, which is probably one of them.
Mm.
But then actually I realized, yeah, it's okay. People could think that. I've got credentials, I've got experience, I get really good feedback from clients, all of that. So if they want to think that, but yeah, I don't like being put in a box. Yeah.
Mm.
Nobody does, do they?
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think somehow can be related to your experience as a German with a Polish middle name and feeling that situation
Yeah,
where
definitely. Because it's right, because it's whenever somebody says to someone else, you are not you, you're someone else, that I tell you to, you are,
yeah.
but that's not okay. And I remember a situation where I was applying for a student job, just wrapping prezzies in a shop for people for, when they do their Christmas shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And German is my native language. And so back then, it wasn't like now online, so you had to kind of like look at the newspaper and you'd have to call them up, and obviously that's my language, and I have a regional accent as well, right, from where I am from. And then and so I was talking to this lady and I said, I'm a student and you're looking for students to wrap gifts for shoppers, and I'm quite artsy and I like those things and this and that. Oh, that sounds fantastic. And you sound so personable. And oh, you know what, how about you come over to our shop, and we meet, and but that sounds fantastic. I said, great. I said, okay, so can I write down your name, please? And your number, right? And I was like, okay. And I said, Martha, and then my surname. Sorry, what? And I spelled it out for them, and they said, yeah, you see, there's a problem because it's such a busy time of the year and we need native speakers.
Wow.
I am a native speaker. No, your German is quite good, but we need native speakers. And I was like, I am a native speaker. I grew up
Otherwise,
German,
in all
like,
this conversation, you haven't
and I was
noticed.
like, yes, like, there's this proper discrimination. And even if I
Wow.
wasn't
Yeah.
German, it's still, whatever, right? It was crazy. And so, yeah, this is one of those experiences of
Mm,
discrimination that I thought that's just awful. And
mm,
in Poland, I went to kindergarten because I was born there. My mother used to work there, so that's how I came to be. And so in the kindergarten, the kids knew because we wouldn't show off Western clothes or anything. We would kind of just blend in, right? But they would sometimes I would say a word the wrong way,
mm,
right? And so they're like, "What's wrong with you?"
mm,
And they realized, oh, okay, so that's not her first language. Even though I grew up with both, because kids are so adaptable, right?
yeah.
But sometimes the word would come out wrong.
Oh.
And back then there was quite that was like late 70s. There was a hatred of German people, even though I'm a mix of
Mm-hmm.
cultures, but and so my toys would get stolen and this and that. So,
Mm,
and I guess that's why I really value not labeling people. I mean, not talking here about diagnosis or anything,
mhm,
but like just seeing people for who they are. Just like don't put them in a box, don't judge, just be
mm.
welcoming and see them as another human being, and that's it. Yeah. Long answer to your question, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's lovely. And because there could be another therapist that has the same approach to
Mhm,
you, they don't have your story.
mhm. Mm.
And the beautiful part of this, you can decide what to share or not,
Yeah, yeah.
but you have that in your mind that you know that that's a connection with that. So
Mm.
the beauty of working on this is even if you don't share specific details,
Yeah, yeah.
you see that connection and what brings you to that point, why this is important to you, why this is a
Yeah,
value
yeah, yeah.
important to you. So then you can decide to maybe include that or not, or
Mm.
maybe use in a piece of content or
Yeah.
not. But the thing is that you can understand your
Hmm.
journey in a different way, let's say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good. Okay, let me check the
Hmm.
notes to see if oh yeah. I asked you about what is one thing that you hope the people remember about working with
Hmm.
you. So I would to know with your words
Yeah.
that yeah.
Mm. Kindness, number
Mhm.
one, so that they felt really safe. And yeah, going with what we said earlier, kind of having felt safe in being who they are.
Mm.
So that non-judgmental space, so for kindness and also fun and playfulness in their growth and healing process. But kindness is number one, that people and safety. Yeah.
Nice. Have you experienced when you were doing your training and you get the therapy,
Hmm.
like the opposite, where they were into not playfulness, not
Mm.
this doesn't have to be fun. If it's the opposite, is more
Yeah.
proper
Yeah.
or appropriate, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So you have some kind of experience that reminds to
Yeah.
you.
It's
Yeah.
that Gestalt therapist I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
because she was so stuck in her theory that she actually forgot to see the person in front of her and just
Mm.
basically just normal life. She was so removed from reality.
Yeah.
She was so this is how I work and no other way, that she was very unkind, very, very unkind in the way she talked to me and shamed. So thinking about, I mean, I was just appalled, but I can see if there was somebody who would have come to her who didn't have the confidence, somebody who was very vulnerable,
Mm.
that could have been very traumatic to that person.
Mm.
If she had, she probably has, I imagine, to some people spoken like this. So yeah, those kind of experiences, like, when you see, that shapes you, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And how you try to not be like that?
How can you be like that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, how are you intentionally avoiding any aspect of that behavior? Oh, I don't know if the connection is.
I think I'm not saying I'm a saint or anything. Everybody has shadow sides, right?
Sorry, the
internet
connection, was frozen for a bit. So
again?
Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about this. Yeah. So I mean, everybody has shadow sides, right? We can all get angry or whatever, or in a bad mood, but it's totally against my nature. It goes against ethics. So I don't know how I could be this way. I guess some people might be turned this way because of compassion fatigue, maybe. But then you just practice self-care as a therapist. It's so important to take care of yourself, do your own work. So what do I do to not be like this? Self-care, taking care of myself. And if there's something happening in my life, I go and talk to another therapist, and work on myself and kind of do morning pages and lots of self-care things. Yeah,
that's lovely. And I am not asking this, of course, to put you like you might be like that or anything. It's
I
just
know. Yeah.
To think about, okay, what are solutions? Because also you mentioned that you would like other professionals to be having ethics in their practicing, incorporating that. So it's interesting that you check what you do to avoid that kind of situation. For example, you mentioned compassion fatigue and how to avoid that. So just maybe having a piece of content around that, how you take care of yourself as a way to be a better professional. That's something interesting, not just for other professionals, but also for your clients who see like you are leading by example, you are taking care of yourself, and you are practicing also that on yourself. So even if this is not a piece that you incorporate like in your overview story, these are elements that could bring you ideas for pieces of content that make sense to highlight, because these are elements that are important to know you as a professional before I know you. So the interesting part is, let's say, thinking of someone that is first time they arrive to your content or your present online, and it's like, okay, how you can share elements that can help them to know you better, to see what is important to you, and see if they resonate with that, and they are okay. I am comfortable with someone that has this principle. I want to work with someone like that. So that's why I am not just we are not just looking for the story, but also for something else. Okay. So if you need to share your messaging as a therapist course creator, how do you introduce yourself and what you usually highlight?
As a course and creator, I highlight. What do I highlight? I think I highlight that I provide a playful space that doesn't try to provide quick fixes, but a space where people can learn, and things that there's a lot of fun and playfulness and creativity in it, but also a lot of science as well. So there's a science background to it, so they know this is nothing gimmicky, but it's actually there's hand and foot to it. That's how I present it, and I present it also that I'm passionate about this too.
Nice. Okay, so after all this process, now the next step will be to choose from the different elements of your story that we have covered. I would say that you write down a piece where you are incorporating at least 3 of these moments that we have gone through. I am going to share with you the notes of this session, and then you can somehow drafting a writing version of it, send it to me, and I'll give you feedback on it. And just from my notes, there are some moments that I think can be interesting to highlight, and just going to share with you. Feel free to use any of those, use all, or it's just things that pick my attention. And if you are going to focus to speak on for the people who has been in some kind of abusive relationship, I would go, even if they are interested in the character, of course, I would try to address this audience. If you think I'd be the one that is like, they have an urgent need to solve and looking for solutions. So maybe I would try to craft the message for them, because they could be interested in that. So in that case, I would try to put in some way or another how from an early age you were having this intuitive way of seeing that you are not the problem. Look, if someone else is there responsible for the situation, they need to take care and try to solve on that, but it's not you. So that moment with your friend, with the abusive mom, of course you can share in the way that you want to. You can keep your privacy, but you sharing the lesson from there. So how just having a conversation can change how people see themselves in the world.
It's a good idea.
And the power of that, just by doing that, how. And this was like from your heart. It's not that you were not study about this or have the science
I was a kid
behind you. It was just your common sense and your feelings were telling you that it's not that. Look at something else. So I think that episode, that moment, is something interesting. Something else that I would see is, you mentioned how you were taking a coffee, looking in the magazine, and looking for this center place to rest. So I love how that is a scene where I can see you dreaming of that, and is that possible? And then it is. I am going to run with my cycle up to there. So I see that nice scene that represent that moment, and can be a way to share about your center creation, because of course you can say, I created a center, and that's it. Or you can introduce those elements that could make the story more interesting, and it's showing how from this is the daydreaming, but then you convert into something tangible, and how in a year you move to another place and all that. So I think it's a nice story to show the growth, and how from daydream becomes something real, and how you are open to change. And even something that was your daydream, it's not anymore. So now you are open
okay
to a
to
new
move on.
And I love that, because that's also something interesting as someone that could take therapy. It's like, it doesn't mean you are open to new things, and to analyze, okay, is this working for me now, or should I move on? And how I do it. So I think that could be a connection there too, on how you are open to those. Something else, how you randomly took a book as a kid and was about psychology, and then you were like amazed with your curiosity. So I love that connection from there. and you don't need to go deeper in these details, but just mentioning those is like giving like some brushes of your life that could be interesting. Something else, the situation where you moved to UK and how life was supposed to be in a direction and then turn around and be another one, and doesn't mean that both of that paths were okay for you, and things can change. Again, the changing, but you are adapting to it, you are resilient, and you are open to changes and reevaluate. Okay, reanalyze what is the situation, what I can do for helping myself to something. Then somehow the concept of putting in a box or not, I don't know if I am frozen.
It's the have I frozen
now.
again? I'm back.
Now we're back. So the idea of putting in a box, somehow I would try to incorporate that into how you approach your work, and how it's connected to your living experience. And I love the laugh. You mentioned that someone told you how they haven't thought about a therapy session where they were laughing. And how that is not in conflict to have results, to be a good professional, to be someone that helps them. And how you create a safe space where both of the things can live together, and you are co-creating and making sure that it's something that is helping them, and how you are even empowering them to, hey, let's space up in between sessions, because that is going to help you to keep progressing. And maybe it's not good for business, but you are not into this for business, you are helping them. That showed me how for you is important the progress of them and helping them to move on.
I always say to people, my goal is to become redundant. So it might not be you just said, it might not be kind of like the most business-like decision, but actually this is the ethical decision. Because people see you working ethically, and so they appreciate that,
Actually, it is good for business. It maybe not for someone with short-term in mind,
but longer term,
longer term is the best. That's why you are getting referrals all the time. Why? Because they are happy with your work. I think my goal is to be redundant is something amazing, because it's like, you know that in the assignment I asked you for some kind of motto. That could be one.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because
could
it's
be
a summary of your approach
of
ethic, and how you want to empower them, and the progress, and all that. So I think you can use that as a way to so from that sentence you can explain a lot of your way of working in an easy way.
I might still have it on my website, or I might have had it in the past, where I said, no matter what your goal is in therapy, one of my goals will always be your autonomy and your independence, which means for me to eventually become redundant. I don't know whether I still have it on my website, but also always every first session I have with a client, I always say that. Nice. So not having you come back and back and back and back and becoming dependent on the therapy, but actually to say, you know what, it's been good, and I'm ready to go. Bye. Kind of that. That's the goal.
And the good part is that now you have also the courses and the community, so it's like they can be around you, and that they don't need you in that deep work together, so that's good. Okay, so I am going to summarize these thoughts and the notes. I am going to share it with you tomorrow, and then you can draft some kind of overview story and send it to me, and I'll give you my feedback on that.
Okay. What else do you need from me? Like, what else do you want me to do? And Yeah.
In which sense do you mean? Sorry.
Like, do you want a reference or recommendation or, yeah.
Yeah. So first, I would like to know if you have any more questions about this session now.
Oh, that
And
was great because it gave me so much food for thought. You asked so many great questions, that I realized, I think especially with the school, like the emotional intelligence and, and also sharing some stories as well, that I need to do that because it kind of seems, this is what we do here. We know like the drive, actually having a bit being more approachable, like a more human side to it. I'm not good at writing things, you see. That's the thing. When I'm with people face to face, great, but writing's not so much. So
so don't write, do other things. So
okay.
if you are good at talking to people, just record your conversation with people where you are explaining to them what is school. Maybe some pieces of this recording can be useful for you as something to share. Or do audios if you work best with audio. So I always suggest to check your way of communication and try to do what is natural to you, because for a lot of people they are good at writing, for others they are sending an audio and they communicate like that better.
Yeah.
So that's also my way. I am not good at writing. I am better when I am in a conversation. That's why I'm trying to use those type of content.
That's really cool. Yeah.
See how I do it.
Yeah.
So you can do something similar, of course, in your way. Yeah, it's important that the school has a personality, has an approach, everything, but sharing pieces of story of the person who found that is like, okay, I can see what are the values of this school. I can see where is this story coming from. So it's not just there could be another schools teaching about the same topics. You are going to have a different approach because of your journey, because your values and what is important to you. So yeah, absolutely. So when we finish this and the feedback and all that stuff, I'll send you a form for your feedback. So I would also like to know how did you see this and what is helpful, what can be improved. And then if you are open to it, you can send me a video testimonial or audio testimonial just with your experience on this process.
Good.
Yes, so I'm going to send you this information tomorrow. There is like a graphic where I put together the story connectors, which are like the elements of your story that are connected to what you offer. And then the idea is that you have those, and depending on who you are talking to or what you want to highlight, you can use them as building blocks and combine them as you want.
Yeah. I'm curious now, like how it will look like. Awesome.
So yeah, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to know or
not at the top of my head. No, I really enjoyed this process.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so let's be in touch. I'll send you the email, and if you have any more questions, just feel free to reach out. Okay.
Awesome, fantastic. Have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you very much for this.
And thank you too. Okay, bye.